YouTube, welcome to a second quick video here. I just did a video review of the 10x18 mini wood lathe from Harbor Freight. Now we're going to talk about some wood turning tools. A lot of you might want to purchase a wood lathe, or you're new to this idea, and I am by no means what I call myself a professional. But if you're going to buy a mini lathe, you're going to need to buy some mini lathe wood turning tools. There are a lot of options out there, and sometimes I buy things from Harbor Freight just for the fun of buying it for Harbor Freight and finding out, is it actually worth having. And in this case, the only place that where I live, where I could get these wood turning tools was Harbor Freight, unless I was going to order it online. And so I decided when I bought this that I was also going to buy their wood turning tools. They have two options, both of which, for somebody who is a hobbyist, you might find a bit expensive. For an actual wood turner, you're going to say, gosh, that's cheap. So take that for what you will. I think their base set starts around $60 something. These are typically around $80. I went with the $80 set. I have found with Harbor Freight that if you buy cheap, dirt cheap, you're going to get dirt cheap. If you buy very, very high end, it's alright. If you find something that's in the middle, if they have three options, if you get the one that's in the middle, you're usually getting a pretty good deal. So, the first thing you need to understand about wood turning tools, I don't care whether you're buying Harbor Freight, whether you're buying something name brand and expensive, it does not make a difference. You are going to have to sharpen, hone, and shape them the way you want them. Which I have done with these, and I haven't even finished with them yet. You're also going to notice a lot of guys out there, particularly the professional woodworkers, that are going to tell you to get diamond sharpening stones. They've got diamond wheels on their grinders. I don't have that kind of money to spend on that type of stuff. Well, I could if I wanted to, but I don't find it necessary. But when you order a set of wood sharpening tools, you're going to read reviews, and it doesn't matter what company it is or where it's from, you're going to hear sharp new, not sharp, cuts like crap, doesn't work, wears out, and I'm going to tell you why. When you buy a set of these, you might as well plan on having to sharpen these right out of the box. If you're buying these right out of the box and you're expecting to put them on the lathe and have super sharp, have it cut precisely the way you want, you're fooling yourself. It's not going to happen. Okay? When I got these, this set came with, what it come with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is an 8-piece set. The first thing I did out of the box was start sharpening these. And they had an awful, awful edge. This particular model, this is a parting tool. I hope I'm in the middle of the camera because I'm beside it, not behind it. Parting tool is used to part wood. This is one of the roughing gouges. Again, I have not touched this one yet. This still has a factory edge. I wonder if I can get the camera to focus on this. This still has a factory edge, and you can see grind marks in it. You probably can't see it on the camera. I don't think my camera is going to pick this up. But it had all sorts of grinding marks. You could just see where it was put on the grinder. Somebody went, "Meow," and they called it good. That is not going to cut very well. Ironically, this does cut, but this is also pine. I think this is pine. So it will cut pine. If you're going to cut something harder, you're going to need a sharp chisel. You should not work with dull tools. This one, I have redone the edge on partially. And I haven't done it very well, I'll tell you. This particular set I haven't given a lot of use yet. You can see, I think, you get a little shine around the heel, which is here, and a little more shine up along the cutting edge. That's where I have honed that really, really well. And I don't sharpen my tools with diamond the way a lot of these professional guys do. I just don't have the need to do that. Here's one of the small skew chisels. This is one of my favorite tools. I have sharpened this also straight out of the box. I had to sharpen it. if I can get the light to reflect on it. I've done the same thing with this one. Anytime, there, you can kind of see it's a little more shiny along the heel and the top. That's where I've got it honed really well. It's polished almost. The way I sharpen these, I do have a grinder, and I do have an ultra fine wheel on that grinder that I use. But I actually prefer a sharpening stone. And I know that I'm going to hear it from the wood turners. You can't do that with your tools. It's going to ruin them. Works just fine. It does for me anyway. If I was working on somebody's project that I was going to sell to them for several $1,000s, I might go out and I might buy a diamond sharpening stone and I might hone these things a little bit better. But as you can clearly see, they cut perfect for me, just like that. And then after I have used a sharpening stone on these, I will actually take 1200 grit sandpaper, just the way you might do with a cheap hand plane. And I will hone these down with a 1200 grit sandpaper. I don't know, once a month maybe. I sharpen them a lot more than that with a sharpening stone. I will run a sharpening stone over these probably after every 20-30 minutes of use. And it's not a lot. When I say I'm going to use a sharpening stone, basically I'm taking that sharpening stone and I'm doing this for just a few seconds, and that edge is restored. This I completely reshaped. This came from Harbor Freight, and I've got a set of Benjamin's Best detail gouges over here somewhere. It came with this type of end. Let's see if I can get close enough for you to see this. Very flat, straight across. I completely reshaped this so that the tip looks like a fingertail or a fingernail. So I went from a flat edge across. This is a flute. Hopefully you can see that. I completely took a grinder to that and reshaped it, and I still need to do some more reshaping to it because I'm not quite happy with it yet. But it does cut really well once you reshape that. And one of the differences there being that once I have that flute shaped in a fingernail shape, I have more access to rotate this on its side even and get it to cut the way that I want it to. You should watch some wood turning videos. There are a lot of wood turning videos out there on YouTube that are really good. Will give you some good information on that. But that was one that I completely reshaped. This one is a scraper, round nose scraper. Again, I had to sharpen this. Had a very, very bad cut to it. This is a larger skew chisel. I've done the same thing on this one. I don't know if I can catch the light to show you how I've honed that. Sometimes it's kind of difficult. There you can kind of see shiny around the edges. I don't have this completely flat. Anytime you're going to sharpen with a grinder, you've got to realize a grinder is a wheel. It's got a curve to it. If you put a straight piece of metal against a curve, you're going to have a curve in that metal as it's going against your grinder. So that's why you can see there's a little bit of shine around the outsides where I've honed that flat from the heel to the cutting edge, and it's not quite as polished in the middle because I don't have it completely flat. I don't sharpen this with a grinder anymore. I sharpen it with sharpening stone and with sandpaper to polish it up. It gives me a very, very nice edge. We have this. Again, this one has a double bevel. Comes to a point in the middle. I've forgotten what the name of this particular tool is. It's a type of scraper, if you will. At least that's what I use it for. Again, this had a very, very bad grind and cut to it. And I will repeat, it does not matter what brand you are buying when you're looking at low-cost tools like this. Maybe if you're going to go out and you're going to spend $500 per tool, those might come honed and ready to use. What you would actually call honed and ready to use, because these do say they're ready to use in the box. They are not. I showed you my little detail set that I have over here. This is a Benjamin's Best. And I actually like these. I do think that they are pretty cheap though. They do heat up if you're using them extensively. But they can get in and do much finer detail. This is the flute. You probably can't even tell this is a flute on camera. This is so small. Very, very small flute. And my favorite out of that Benjamin's Best set is this little skew and the parting tool. Because quite frankly, the parting tool that comes in the Harbor Freight set is massive. That is a thick piece of metal. Okay? Yes, it's a good parting tool, but it is so thick if you're doing fine detail work, like chest pieces and tool handles, little tool handles. That's taking out a lot of wood to part something. So, is it worth buying? Is it not worth buying? Well, that's a good question. It all depends on what your budget is and what you're looking for out of your woodworking tools. These have worked very, very well for me, but I had to do a lot of work to them to make them work well for me. Yes, they did cut right out of the box, even with the bad grind. They cut out of the box. They do what Harbor Freight says they will do. They will turn a piece of wood. Would I want to use them like that for long? No. Would I try and turn something that I'm going to actually try and make look decent, like chest pieces? No. I would not. I would definitely sharpen them first. And I'm not going to do a video on sharpening. There are a bunch of videos out there about how to sharpen your tools. Is a diamond stone worth it? Yes, probably. If you're going to invest a lot of money in tools, you should take care of them as best you can. And I just don't have the need to do that. I can get as good a results with what I've got with sharpening stones and sandpaper and ultrafine grinding wheel. And it is not a diamond wheel that I have on my grinder. It is something you can walk into the store and buy that you could use for everyday stuff. But it is, I've got a medium and an ultra fine grit, and I use the ultra fine grit wheel to do any sharpening on these. I would recommend, if you're new to wood turning and you're going to buy a Harbor Freight set of wood turning tools, that you watch some videos about how to sharpen hand planes. It's very similar when you learn how to sharpen hand planes, and believe me, I've bought some cheaper hand planes out there that take a lot of work to get them to where you really want them. But those videos are very useful. They will explain to you about the bevel and the edge, the cutting edge that's on a blade or an iron if it's in a hand plane. You'll find that very useful for learning and understanding how to sharpen a piece of metal. So, again, would I recommend buying one of these sets? Yeah, I probably would. If you're new to wood turning and you don't want to spend thousands of dollars to get into this, it's a good set to get into. It does have its issues. Some things, even though this is an expensive set, it's cheaply made. You'll notice this no longer has the brass fitting. It's on here. That fell off first day. I've got it somewhere here on my workbench. And I mean, it's just a little bit of glue. I can put it back on, be fine. Doesn't affect how the tool works. But you're also going to notice, if you look at this one, this gets a lot of use. I've already got a crack right here, and I've got a crack right here. So I will end up having to turn a new handle for that, probably for all of them at some point. That's the downside to Harbor Freight. And these are high-speed steel, by the way. They are stamped high-speed steel. They say they're high-speed steel. Are they high-speed steel? I don't know. Tool steel and high-speed steel, who knows what one company is calling that versus another company. But they are pretty heavy. They feel pretty good. So far, that's one of my gouges. I don't use that one so much. This one has probably gotten some more use. No cracks in that one. Okay. I use this a lot. No cracks in that one. Oh, the finish is kind of crappy right there. Kind of looks like somebody got some dust in there when they were finishing that. Well, what else do we have? Any of these others have cracks? No. I don't use that one a whole lot either, though. That's a round nose scraper. So there are some useful things. Yes, I would probably recommend it, but if you're gonna buy anything from Harbor Freight, you're gonna find that you need to be thrifty. You need to know how to turn new handles for some of their tools, or how to fix some of their other stuff. And I don't just buy Harbor Freight. I've got a lot of stuff. I've got Porter Cable. I've got Ryobi. I've had DeWalt. I've got anything and everything you can possibly imagine for tools. So sometimes you surprise yourself at what you buy. If you're going to buy Harbor Freight, be smart about it. Do your reviews first. Make sure it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't, spend a little bit more on something else you're more comfortable with. Alright, that's it. That's the Harbor Freight wood turning tools. Yes, I'd probably buy it again. Do I think it's actually worth what they charge for it? No, definitely use a 20% off coupon. Alright, have a great day, YouTube. Thanks.